Good evening, everyone. This is Dana from NextGen, and I wanted to introduce you to our panel members because tonight we're going to be talking about real estate investor panel, Real Talk. So I want to introduce, and she may come back in, our co-founder, Robin Thomas, and our investor, real estate extraordinaire, Damon Holland, and our special guest, Mr. Rick Adderley. Good evening, gentlemen. I hope you're doing well. And thank you for joining us on this panel, Real Estate Investment, Real Talk. And I will turn it over to Mr. Holland from Holland Homes team.
Hey, good evening. Can everybody hear me? Just a quick mic check.
Yes,
All right, looks like the picture just froze
Yes.
up, but it'll come back in later. But like Dana said, we are here to talk about real estate investing. We're here to talk to the panel, ask the panel different questions about how they got started with their interest in real estate investments, and just overall talk about how to get started in the real estate investment game. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. We'll start out with Dana.
yes.
We'll ask you one of the most important questions. What got you into real estate investing and why? And what's your why as far as getting into that area?
Wow. Okay, well, I kind of got into the real estate game by accident. So I was looking up, and for those that don't know my story, make sure that you subscribe to our channel because I actually have where I talk about what got me into real estate. But one of the things I was looking up was I was looking at historically underutilized zones, business utilization zones, and that was for where I was working when I was with the federal government. But I accidentally found out about opportunity zones. And this was in 2019. So if you don't know about opportunity zones, we'll make sure to put a link in the description below. But what it was talking about a way that you can use capital gains in a tax deferred way. And so, we normally make money. A lot of people make money by having a job. They may have um, write a book. There's different ways to make money, and one of them is capital gains, and it's taxed or own a business. So capital gains is something that was very different and something I wasn't used to. So you can get capital gains with real estate, you can get capital gains with stocks, you can get capital gains with art, and because of the program and how I saw it, I said this is something I can do. Stocks is not something that I don't want to say comfortable with, but it wasn't going to give me the return that I was looking for. So with real estate, I actually was I purchased a property, didn't have to do a whole lot to it, turn around and sold it for a profit. And that was within 6 months. And that was something that I couldn't do on my job. So and it was unlimited. So that's kind of what got me into the real estate game.
Absolutely, that is great. I'm gonna go to Rick. Same question. What got you into real estate investing? What is your why? And do you have a total goal and end game as far as real estate investing too?
Well, what initially attracted me to real estate was just seeing apartments and houses in the neighborhood being run down. I mean, you look at it and like, oh, I would never buy that house. But then if you actually look at what that house could do for you once you fix it up, get a renter in there, or just flip it, it again, just much like Dana, that was something that I know I couldn't do at my job. And at the time, I was working two full-time jobs. So I knew this was something that I was interested in. I wanted to do. Um, I just didn't know how to do it. So again, I'm working two full-time jobs, so I have a lot of time on my hands. So I'm looking at YouTube videos on how to get in the game, which is it gives you some insight, but there's nothing like having uh, someone that's been there and done that to help you not make the mistakes that I made. And I made them twice actually, which kind of deterred me from wanting to, pursue it. But it's still something that I want to do. Actually, I actually wanted to start off with an apartment building, but I thought that that might have been too much. Me not knowing how the game works, be jumping out there like that. I'm still trying to get a grasp on how to make that move because being retired now, I'm looking for that, you know, that residual money coming in. I don't, as far as working, I want the money coming in while I'm sleeping. I think at this point I deserve that after, the time I put in. So that's my interest and that's where I want to be. I mean, I still want to pursue it. I just want to do it the right way.
Absolutely. So definitely sounds like similar interests, similar wants and needs and whys. Um, I would say a big thing for me also is community. Like Rick said, as far as looking at your community, seeing how you can help your community, and you see that the old dilapidated building all the time. You see it for years on end. There's really only two options for that building and communities like that. It's either going to continue to decay or it's going to develop. And right now we're seeing a lot of it develop. No matter what city you're in, you see it. What Dana talked about, opportunity zones, that is a big avenue that's been out there for a while, but everybody don't know about it. It's still gaining traction. It's still going through changes, also getting bigger and better. But opportunity zones is just one of the vehicles and avenues that is very good for communities. Um, and like I said, we'll get deeper into opportunity zones, maybe on a different live. But let's also get back to another one of the questions that I get all the time, as far as how do you gain capital for your first in investment? How do you get financing for your first investment? Everybody thinks that they need to come to into investing with a certain amount of money. So, as far as each one of y'all, how did you gain your capital for your first investment property?
Well, my mine was let's see. I think I talked about it again in one of the videos. So what I had was what they call certificates of deposits or share certificates in the credit unions. And one of the things that you can do is you can actually borrow against it. So if I had a certificate that was, um, let's say, $50,000 or $100,000, I will borrow against that. So the certificate would stay in the credit union, and they would allow me to pull money, either all of it, which you could do with Navy Federal, or a portion of it, which you can do with PenFed. I'm just giving you an example. And what I did was I used that money to fund my project, my first project, because I found out that cash gets me gets me through the process a lot quicker, and I can also negotiate discount or a lower price when I come with the cash. So when I did that, I did a cash, what we call a cash deal, and then once I sold the property, preferably with the profit, I would take that money and put it back. Again, it still stays in the share certificate. It's just that there is
You're
a.
coming in kind of muffled a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
There
So,
it is.
with the money in the share certificate, it's still there and it's still earning interest. And so I have a certain period of time that I'm to put that money back. And usually I do it for 5 years. So the goal is to take, once I make the sale, if you will, and I sell is to put the money back into the certificate or the share certificate. So, and with a profit, of course. That was the goal. So that's one of the ways that I can do it. And the reason why I did the share certificate is because the interest rate is less than 5%, as opposed to me going to a bank or going to a different type of lender for investors, which you're doing a lot more paperwork, you're putting in a lot more money, and I kind of was risk adverse to those types of things. Worst case scenario, I have a property. Worst case scenario.
Okay. Rick, same question.
For me, again, I was the one that was on the internet trying to figure this stuff out. So, my wife and I um, went house hunting on the internet. We found uh, at a cheap house. Now we're living here in Maryland. Uh, we found a nice cheap house in Detroit at the time. I think it might have been for maybe 5, 6 years ago. Um, and couldn't believe the price of it. It was a 3 bedroom brick house with a basement, uh, 2 bathrooms, a screened in porch in the back, and they wanted 13,000 for it. So myself, I had some high limits on my credit card, so I went and purchased the house via the credit card, and at that point, used other credit cards to find uh, a contractor to get the work done. Uh, Open up an account with Home Depot so that the contractor could uh, get the supplies from the Home Depot. Uh, of course, he'll go through me, but again, that was not the way it should have been done. And um, by us being so far away, we're uh, talking to the contractor via Skype, and we're asking him to show us what he has done. He's going around showing us things, and so we just decided to, go up. Surprise visit came up, and so everything that he was showing us, like he had the vanity set up in the bathrooms, and the vanity had the sink wasn't even connected. None of the plumbing was connected. It was just a horror show. So uh, a lot of wasted money. So again, I have the horror stories for you. What not to do. So, and I also think I also was told that you had to separate your business funds from your personal funds.
But experience,
And,
experience wins at the end of the day.
hello.
Still here.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, so I'm still not understanding how you can do that when you try to go to the bank to get, business loans. They base it off, your personal credit. And sometimes you don't get as much based off your personal credit, because I couldn't understand why I had a high 700 credit score. Then when I go to get a business credit card, I'm only getting like $2,000 or $3,000, $5,000, something like that. And I have personal credit cards for much higher than that. So
Mm.
just didn't understand how that business, I mean, how that finance part worked. So I
I,
paid
I
the
might be,
price for it.
I might be able to help you with that one. I might be able to help you with that one. So this has been my
Okay.
experience. So when I bought my first investment property, and when I say investment property, I'm talking about a house that I have no intentions to live in. So when I bought it under my name. So when I bought it under my name, okay, I was using cash. So that's one thing. So the next time I bought a property, I bought it under the limited partnership, under a business. So to me, the reason why, and Damien, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the reason why the bank looks at your personal from your business is if you bought the property in your business that is independent of you, even though they will for example, let's say that you have an LLC and your LLC, you're the managing member of that LLC. They can come back and look at your income, but they're primarily concerned about the income from your business, your LLC, because that's where the risk is. So if anything goes wrong, that's why they call it LLC, because it's limited to what you have in an LLC. So they're just trying to manage their risk.
Now, funny you should mention that because on the second property, I did exactly that. I opened up a LLC, uh, got business credit based off the LLC. It still was kind of shaky on, the balance they was going to give me because they said the business was under 3 years old. So
Yeah, that yeah, yeah.
So
That's
it's
the
kind
reason
of
why.
catch 22.
Yeah, and that's why I went with the cash route. And what I did was, and I'm not advocating this. This is just what Dana did. Is what I did was I took the money and lent it to the business. And so when I made the profit, that's what the bank could see, that I was making a profit, because I didn't want to beg the bank for anything. The risk was going to be on me. So if the risk is going to be on me, then it stays with me. And like I said, worst case scenario, I have a property.
Yeah, and I pretty much did the same thing. Once I got the business bank account established, uh, I started using my personal funds to, build the business balances up. So when I did, go out and try to get credit cards, whatever, they see that I have constantly have, income coming in, even if it's, $1,000 a month, it's still something coming in towards the business.
Yes. Okay. That's really good. Damon, we did have a question. Did you want me to pull it up? I didn't mean to interrupt you, Rick. Were
Absolutely.
you
But
Yeah,
finished?
let's
I'm
definitely.
I think this goes with what Rick was talking about with his property being out of state.
now with the
Yeah,
property
we.
being
I
out of
definitely want to
state.
ask that one. How was it? And you kind of hit on it a little bit earlier. How was it going out of state?
Now we were again in Detroit, and at the time Detroit wasn't doing too well, but you had to get a property manager. So we found a property manager. They were supposed to take care, supervising the contractor, making sure they were doing the work they were supposed to be doing, and also looking to get us tenants because we was trying to do Section 8. Um, but it was a nightmare because just dealing with, if anyone has invested in properties in Baltimore, just try to the Baltimore city, that it's hard dealing with the government, Baltimore City. So Detroit was the same way. You try to get the lights cut on. It's just a horror story. And then the property manager that we, paying to get that done wasn't doing it. So my wife in turn was doing the property manager's job. So it's like, why are we paying them and you're doing all the work? So it was just a horror story. But if you get a good property manager, you know, that's gonna do what you're paying them to do, I don't think it'll be a big issue. You just gotta find the right one. Just like anything else with your contractors, your banks, your uh, realtors. You got to have a good team together because if you don't have a good team, you'll be wasting a lot of money.
Yes. Now, how difficult
Absolutely.
was it for you to assemble that team? I'm sorry, Damon. This is your show. How difficult was it
Oh
for you to
no,
assemble
good.
that
Keep it
team?
flowing.
Well, on the second uh, investment, we went. Well, I went to one of those seminars that had everything there. You know, you had your folks that going to find a property for you. You had your contractors. You had the folks who's going to do the finances. It's all in one. So it wasn't hard finding them there. But again, all these folks are working together, and whether it's to, you know, do you in or, to help you out. You don't know until you get in there and you start dealing with these folks. So
That is interesting because I
Because you
was
currently
going to
have
go.
a property out of state also.
I'm sorry. What'd you say, Damon?
I was gonna say same. I was gonna say same question to you, Dana, because you currently have a property out of state also.
I certainly do. And thanks to Holland Holmes' team, I was able to secure the property. Um, and I think what's good about having Holland Holmes' team is they actually were my eyes and ears because I have never seen the property. I've had the property, I think we've had it since 2022. I've never seen the property. I've never stepped foot in it. So I had Damon going over there. I had Robin going over there. And I think, working with a team. So, um, Holland Holmes team was basically my team. So if there was something, I think the house was already renovated. So we were just making sure that we had the things because it was in South Carolina and it has its own weather challenges because this was right in the middle of hurricane season. So getting insurance was a challenge. So I think for me, I would have to work with someone like Holland's Home Teams that actually has an investor mindset. Because if you're dealing with a real estate agent that doesn't have an investor mindset, they're not going to think the way we do. So that's been my exam. And of course, having the management company is a really big deal because I we've had some issues, minor issues, and they actually have the staff and the people that are there that can take care of the property. I'm 600 miles away, so it's something I don't have to deal with. But you definitely need to have a good management company. Definitely.
Great information.
Did you have some questions?
Everybody still?
Yes. We don't have any questions in the chat yet.
Okay. So, all good information, all good information, and as we see, two totally different strategies. But we're going to also keep it going. As far as how did you each, and Rick, you kind of hit on it already. How are you evaluating your properties as far as what's your return on investment? Do you have a formula? Is it more of the team, or do you have your own spreadsheets? What's your kind of your strategy, your process for evaluating properties? Let's put it that way.
My strategy was just to hit the MLS, which was not always the best because you don't get the best deals that way. Uh, but again, as far as evaluating properties, actually going to the properties and putting eyes and boots on the ground, um, I think that is again where you need that good contractor because I myself am an investor, so I can go look at it, look at the bones, and say, okay, yeah, I want to go ahead and invest in this. But you have that contractor that's going to look deeper, way deeper than what you're looking. They're looking for water, they're looking for pipes and hose and rodents and the whole nine, electric. You know, that's why you need that team so that you don't make the mistake just by looking at the ooh, look how pretty it is on the outside. Spend that money, and now you got a lemon of a house. So you need that team. That is can't not stress that enough. You have to have that team on your side, and also again, like with Holland Investing, when it comes down to the deal, need that team on your side.
So, when we're talking about the teams, when we're talking about the teams, um, and looking at what we want to invest in and the return on my investment, what I'm doing is I'm looking at and the real estate professionals that I'm dealing with, again, they're also investors. So they have a formula as well. And so what we're looking at is what they want what we want to offer on the property, how much it's going to cost to um, fix anything that needs to be fixed. But I usually, when I'm looking at a property, especially if I'm going to sell it, I'm usually getting the buyer before I buy the property. And usually the buyer doesn't want to go through the challenges of fixing it up. So if I can get the property at a good price, and again, the good price is I usually when I offer cash, and it takes minimal effort to make the corrections or to fix the things, I have a buyer sitting right there. Two or three would be really good too. But that's if I wanted to sell it. If I wanted to rent it, I'm finding out that I'm going to have to do the property is going to look a little different. So when before I get started, I have to have in my mind how much is it going to be when if I am to sell it? How much is it going to be if I'm going to rent it? And Rick, did you find that out yourself when you were trying to evaluate? Were you looking at I'm going to have a separate set of numbers for whether I'm going to sell it or whether I'm going to rent it?
I did not because I had went into it wanting to rent, so I had my mind made up on what I wanted to do with the property prior to making the purchase.
Okay. Because when I was going through this, it started in 2019 as, and so I had a property in Baltimore City in 2020. So you can just imagine what I was going through.
I can.
So there you go. I mean, Baltimore City is interesting enough in it of itself, but now you're going to add that on top of it. So it was definitely an adventure. So I can definitely relate to what you've been saying.
So I got a question along those same lines too. So you said you had a property in Baltimore. You said Baltimore City.
My first investment property was in Baltimore County.
Oh, county. Okay.
My first, well, it wasn't my first because you worked with me on the first property from the Opportunity Zone. So we had a property in the Opportunity Zone, which actually there's a video on this channel that shows you the before and the after. Well, actually shows you the after the renovation. But it was in Baltimore City. It was a Victorian. It was beautiful.
I do
It was
remember that
over
one.
6,000, 6,500 square feet, a livable space. It was gorgeous.
So yeah, so one in Baltimore, you have one in Landover, Hyattsville, Maryland, and then one in North Carolina also. With doing
Two
these
in South Carolina.
transactions,
Two in South Carolina.
two in South Carolina, that's right, two in South Carolina. With doing all these transactions, is it difficult dealing with different states, or are they kind of the same across the board, just kind
Um,
of different here and there?
well, again, gotta say, it's the what helped me was that the real estate professionals that I was dealing with were also investors. So, um, I think, that helped me out tremendously. Now, in South Carolina, Holland's home team helped me with the land, and they also helped me purchase a house. So the land I sold because I was actually looking to put a house there, but I ended up selling it, and then the house I ended up renting it. So those two different things. Now up here in Maryland, um, all of them have been sold, but it was a plan in mind. So it was like if you're not going to rent it, then go to the sale. Again, all of this happened during the pandemic. So
Hmm.
I think it may have been a little bit different had it not been during that time. But I think that, again, working with like minded people, I think it made it easier for me.
It does. It does. It definitely does. Another question that I get a lot of times: how is it? Is it beneficial, or is it easier to go in with a partner or going on your own with different transactions and deals? I get that question a lot too. So that goes out to both of y'all.
Well, if I may, Mr. Rick, it depends on what kind of partner you're talking about. If your partner is your spouse, then you've got to be on the same on the same accord. One person has a strength and the other one has a different type of strength. So that is a different kind of partnership. For me, it's easier for me to do it by myself most of the time because I don't have to wait for someone to tell me something. But it could go the other way. I may need that other person that say, "Hey, Dana, did you think about this?" And plus, when you're dealing with your spouse or someone that is a partner that has a vested interest, they're going to be very careful about what they tell you because just like a spouse, if they give you the wrong information, they lose just as well. So I
They
think,
in it too.
making
Yeah.
sure that you trust that person um that they will have the business's best interest at heart.
And
Mark,
I
you ready?
personally cannot answer that because I have not yet um, had a partnership deal come up. So, but I know there is some very serious legal ramifications behind that with that partnership. So, if you're going to do it, you might want to make sure you get some legal folks there to look the paperwork over to make sure you're getting what you're thinking you're getting.
You brought up a very good point, and I want to circle back to that if I could, um, Damon. My opportunities zone, the fund is a partnership, but the way it's set up is that the investors are silent partners. Now that works, and what I mean by that is they're not active in the day to day. So that actually works to their benefit. So for the limited
Mm-hmm.
partners that are part of the fund, they are not active. And that means that if anything happens to the fund, their limitation is to what they invested. Whereas me as a general partner, my liability can go past my investment. So there's a trade-off to not being actively involved. But my contract, and Rick brought up a very good point, because one of my partners, one of my team members is an attorney that makes sure that we document and outline if someone wants to become active, and that's usually there's going to be investing a little bit more than everyone else. They will have a say and they'll be active. So you're absolutely right, and that's what I had to do as well.
So, also, good question, good answer on that. Let's go back to the finance piece. Go back to the financial part of it. Dealing with, have either of you kind of, I think I answered the question a little bit already, but let's jump into hard money lenders. Are you using hard money lenders, and what was your experience using a hard money lender if you did?
I did, and not all hard money lenders are the same. I would work with those
Of
that
course, yeah.
are experienced in the type of properties that I'm looking at. You want to um, evaluate them as you would any other business partner. Now, the one that I dealt with, they were purchase, renovate, and sell. They also had it if you wanted to do a new build. Mine was just for purchase and renovate and sell. So it could work for you or work against you as far as your finances are concerned. So I would tread lightly with that because first, their loyalties is to the company, not to your company. So they're always going to look out for themselves
Correct.
and they're not going to let that risk slide over to them.
And for that same reason,
Absolutely.
the hard money lenders kind of scared me off. But in the same sense, I was wondering what I needed to do to become a hard money lender because I've heard that they can make their money pretty quickly. Um, so it did intrigue me, but I stayed away from it. Like I said, I was doing basically bank loans and personal loans. But on the finance side, if with once you do start doing the renovations, you want to make sure you do have a budget and stick to it because that budget can just blow up on you real quick. And you need to add in, those unforeseen things, so
You went right into the next question. That's perfect. As far as that budget, were you paying, as far as the contractors, were you paying them by in full in the beginning, or was it in stages as they completed different areas of the house or parts of the house? How did you deal with that as far as the contractors and paying them on that budget?
Mine
now
was in stages. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rick.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
Mine was in stages. I had different disciplines. I had the carpentry, I had the plumbing, I had electricians and stuff like that. So it was in stages. So I actually worked with a a program manager, general contractor, and they pretty much corralled the cats and got everybody together. As
Hmm.
far as the stages, and that is if you're dealing with a hard money lender, that's going to be your requirement as well as the budget and in the stages. Because what happens is in the case of what I was dealing with, I would pay and then they would reimburse me. So, and they would come out and inspect the property because again, they have a vested interest. They pretty much have a lien on it as well. So that kind of helped keep me on track as what needed to be done. So I always err on the side of I'm super duper conservative and I'm always looking at worst case scenario. And if a deal is, even though it might seem sweet, I have walked away from deals because I wasn't comfortable with it. And I knew I was going to have challenges going through those stages, if you will.
And same
What about you, Rick?
situation for myself. I had the bank that loaned me money going through stages. I paid the contract in stages. They had evaluations enabled for me to get through the first phase to the point where they will pay me back. I might put like $40,000 down, get to the first phase, might be 2 months. They'll come out, inspect it, check off on it, and then send me that 40,000 back. But then at the next, I still have to pay the contract for the next phase. So it was just phase work like that, So, and that's where that budget comes into play because you're working with this, and you might say, oh, I want to instead of putting uh, the regular uh, uh, panel down. I want to put some marble panel down. So now that panel that you had budgeted for $1,000 now 2,500.
Hmm.
So you definitely had to watch that budget.
Absolutely. So it's definitely a lot more than those 30-minute TV shows is showing. That's
You
that's
best believe
the
it.
big point. That's the biggest side of it. Also, the uh, the areas that you're doing the properties in, how are you finding those too? The residential neighborhoods. How are you judging the properties? How are you finding the properties? I know Rick, you said definitely a lot. You went on online, you found a property out in Detroit. What are some other strategies as far as finding properties?
Well, I did again. I'm like looking at all the videos. So you want to, as far as properties,
Did it
you
go
could
out or am
do
I still here?
commercial properties. You could do,
Okay.
residential property. A property is a property for me. I mean, if it's bringing money in, I can do residential. But you want to basically find something in what they call it, the A class, which is the upper neighborhoods. You don't have to worry about too much crime and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, but then you gotta understand that you're gonna be paying more for those properties in that neighborhood. But your RO should be better, and those, you should be able to rent if that's what you're doing without an issue. Then you got your B neighborhoods, which is like the mid, or your C, which is like the hood. And I know I had a conversation with Dana once before about the opportunity zones, and Dana was telling me that she loves buying stuff in the hood. I mean, because folks in the hood have to live as well. They have to live, so give them somewhere nice to lay their head. They work as hard as everybody else. They should have some nice place to go lay their head after a hard day's work. So if you're gonna provide that for them, you can make money pretty much anywhere. The question is how fast you want to make it and how much you want to risk to get it.
Well, I will tell you, I have been very, very fortunate with respect to the opportunity zones because, with the exception of maybe one property, nobody believed that those properties were in the zone because they expected them to be run down. And I said, no, it's the governors of each of those states and Puerto Rico for the territory, they were selecting property, they were selecting areas that were like up and coming, and they wanted the investors to stay at least 10 years, 10 years or more. So you don't want to get something that they're going to walk away with in about 2 years. They wanted pretty much staying power. So these neighborhoods were actually growing, so they were changing pretty rapidly. So I was very fortunate in the properties that I had selected. They were very nice. And again, they're on the channel, so you'll get to see them.
Absolutely. I have a question also for both. 1031 exchange program. Has either one of you used that program as far as while you're invested in properties?
I have not. And that was one of the things about the opportunity zone. And correct me if I'm wrong. And Rick, I don't know if you've done a 1031. I believe with a 1031, you have to invest your entire capital gain.
That is correct. I mean, that's the way you avoid paying capital gains tax.
Okay. With
Yeah.
the opportunity zone, you don't have to do the entire amount. So that I think that was one of the things. So I have not. So I'm gonna turn that over to you, sir.
I haven't either, uh, but I do have some accountants, and they do training on that. So, how to do asset management, how to hide your assets and keep more of your money. And at 1031 is one way of having a property you want to get rid of instead of just straight out selling it. You can put that property towards another property, and then you don't have to pay that capital gains tax on it.
Does this work the same way as far as opportunity zones?
With the opportunity zone, you have 180 days to apply a portion or all of the capital gains into the fund. So with the 1031, I believe Rick was saying it had to be all of it. For the opportunity zone, it could be a portion of it.
Okay.
It does not have to be
Okay.
all of it.
Okay.
And again, it's within 180 days of realizing the gain.
And I think that's these programs that we're both talking about, the opportunity zones and 1031 exchange program. These are definitely programs that we need to know about that we don't have a lot of information on. But so this is definitely one of the ways of networking and sharing information, so we all know, we all can get involved and use these programs for us too. So this is definitely good information that we need.
Definitely.
As far as renting versus the flips, turning, renovate and sell. Which one? What's the different motivations as far as those two different strategies as far as the properties? Why would you want to rent, and why would you want to just turn and flip for the profit?
Um, for, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
I would say the tax advantages. Because you're going to get more of a tax advantage if you're renting, because the government wants you to be able to provide houses for citizens. If you're so they're looking at you as providing a service for the community, so they're going to give you a better tax advantage, a tax break than they would if you just went out, sold a house, flipped it. Then that's where that capital gains comes in again. Is my opinion.
Uh, for me, it depends. Because sometimes I would buy a property with the intention of renting or leasing. That's the benefit of the opportunity zone, is because the tax benefit is if you hold the property for 10 years. But there are some situations where I am not in the position to rent the property for whatever reason. So what I would end up doing is I would sell the property and then use the money and put it back into the fund to use it for a property that I intend to sell. So it depends, but normally when I go into it, unless I'm trying to create a capital gain, which I would use that money to put into the fund. Unless that's what I was doing, I'm always, as Rick saying, I would actually go for the rental if I can. That is
Okay.
that is the objective.
Okay. Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's say, give you a scenario. Give y'all both a scenario. Let's say, um, me and you were talking. We just met, and I say, "Hey, I'm interested in becoming a real estate investor. How do I start?" How would you respond to that question? Tell me exactly how to start as far as real estate investing.
For me,
Yeah.
I would say don't do what I do. Don't do what I did. No, but again, you have to try to research the information and find yourself a mentor, somebody that's going to show you the ropes. I mean, you don't want to start recreating the wheel. I mean, because that is a very expensive way to become a real estate investor. And you don't want to go that route. So I would say find your mentor, somebody you can tag along with. They can show you the ropes and show you the do's and don'ts. Um,
Perfect. Good
I
answer. Good
definitely want to
answer.
piggyback
Dana.
off of that. Yes, sir. I want to piggyback off of what Rick said. Definitely get the mentor, maybe more than one. And the mentor has to be someone that will, it would be to their detriment to give you bad advice. Because someone on YouTube doesn't know me from a can of paint, or somebody at a seminar, they don't know me, they don't know my risk tolerance. So it has to be someone that understands me. I'm saying the person I'm talking to, I have to be able to understand them and to understand their risk tolerance. Because saying that you want to be a real estate investor, you're going to go through some sleepless nights. You're going to make some mistakes, and that's okay. And also, if you're a real estate investor, do you have people that are counting on you? Do you have a spouse? Do you have a family? These are conversations that need to be had with them as well. That's what I have.
Absolutely. 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 That's exactly how we wanted to get everything started, and also bring it to a conclusion. But this was good information. Again, this is what we need to know, what we're trying to find out. We're also networking, meeting different people, because a lot of other people are going to watch this later on also. And this is something probably going to keep going too, because this is a good conversation and a good introduction, a good door doorway to real estate investing. You come in to ask questions, people who already know, like, and trust, and like Dana said, they can tell you the right and wrongs, and what Rick also said too. So, any closing advice from either one of you?
Well, I really appreciate working with investors such as yourselves because you guys help me grow. You help me learn. And we one person may have an experience about something that I've never had the experience, and we can learn from each other. So definitely the networking helps, and I really appreciate this forum. So thank you, Damon, for putting this together.
Absolutely appreciate it, Rick.
I just want to say, if real estate investing is your passion, don't give up on your passion. I mean, because you don't want to look down the road and say, I should have did that. So as Dana said, you're gonna have some bumps and bruises, but you learn from it and you back up and brush yourself off and keep going. And I could tell you that off experience. So
Absolutely. And for me, I would say to summarize this almost an hour we talked about, the underlying fact that kept coming across was make sure you have yourself a good team, a good mentor, and start with the ending. What I mean by start by the ending is already know if you want to rent or sell, and then from there you backtrack and back plan from your exit strategy that you already have. So again, make sure you have a good team. Make sure even if you're out of state, make sure you have a good team that can be there and have your same interests, your same vision, and your same left and right limits of what you're looking for. So for me, that would be the summary of this live stream today. Have yourself a good team. Danny, you got anything else?
No, sir. Again, everyone, thank you for joining us this evening. If you're coming back in on this live stream and you have questions that we may not have addressed, or you may have additional questions, as Damon said, this is just the part one of many more to come. So make sure you get your questions asked. We have some contact information in the description. Of course, you are free to use the comments section. And again, I thank everyone. I thank our panel members, and I would like everyone to have a fantastic weekend and talk to you soon.
Thanks for coming out.
all right, God bless.